Who's the Walmart Target of spices? Like, I'm curious
Yeah,
now.
McCormick is the biggest.
So, but all right, so we want to talk about them, right? Because they too big. Who is like the one step down from McCormick because they just feel like too corporate?
Arguably, I think I would probably be after McCormick. If we're talking
What
revenue,
the?
I haven't even gone into mass resale yet. I can't imagine that there's another smaller spice shop that does more revenue than I do.
Hello, hello, hello. We are live for another episode of Text Me When You Outside. We've got Marcus Allen here. My lovely co-host today, Brandon McEachern, could not make it, but we have one of my favorite people in the world, the lovely Angel. I am so happy to be here. We done worked together so many times, and I look forward to asking you stuff that I may not have asked you in person. Um, but I love to, you know what I mean, obviously introduce yourself, tell the people who you are. We're going to go through a lot, but I would love for you just to let people know who you are. And I appreciate you again for being
Oh,
here.
absolutely. Anytime y'all call, I show up because it's always mutual love and respect. I'm Angel. I'm a DC native, Howard University graduate twice, which just means I'm real broke because I owe them a lot. Former educator. I used to be a teacher at a youth jail, then went on to become an assistant principal, and then a full-time Spice Girl. And now I am a Spice Girl, and I guess also a real estate developer because I bought a block and redeveloped it. So a lot of
Talk your stuff. Talk your stuff.
a lot of different titles, a lot of different title changes over the years, but community servant at my core is still like always who I am, and I think that's a common thread in everything that I've done professionally and personally.
So let's get right into it. So obviously started out as an educator. At what point in that education journey was entrepreneurship a thing? And I guess more specifically, how in the world did you start sourcing spices and how did that become an actual business?
Yeah, so entrepreneurship, I had like little spats of it, right? So when I worked at Oak Hill at the youth jail, I left there because working inside the jail
Oh, Oak Hill out in Virginia?
in Maryland, in Laurel, Maryland. Now
Gotcha,
called New
Laura. Okay,
Beginnings.
okay.
It's now called New Beginnings. It was Oak Hill back then.
Got
But I
you.
was working at the youth jail and I loved it. I loved the kids. I loved working there. But being inside that facility felt as restrictive for the staff as it did for the kids. And so I wanted to work with them,
Mm.
but I wanted to work with them in the community because I was realizing that a lot of our kids were recidivating. So my best friend, Maia, and I decided to start a business a long time ago called My Angel, which was literally just the combination of her name and mine, Maia and Angel. We called it My Angel. And we were, I don't know if I ever really talked about this. We started an educational advocacy program together. So that was kind of my first really like,
And like what years is this?
that was like, oh my gosh, maybe 2007, 2008.
Okay,
Like that was
okay,
a long
okay,
time. It felt
okay.
like forever ago. So we started My Angel. We started doing educational advocacy for young people who were court involved, but DCPS was telling them that they were aged out of the system. So basically, DCPS was not trying to take these boys back in school because they were saying that they were going to max out because they had spent too much time in jail. So we started this organization to be able to get them what they needed. Left there, went to Peaceaholics, which was a notorious kind of violence intervention organization in DC. And I started their first ever GED program. I got a bunch of kids from a bunch of different hoods through the program and got their GEDs for them. And so that was kind of my first taste of entrepreneurship. In a less
Okay.
formal way, it was kind of direct service. But the way that I do entrepreneurship now, I have no idea where this came from. This is just like a super crazy series of serendipity that just keeps happening.
I love that. So at what point was your first, I guess, sourcing of spices? Was that a vacation? Like what led to like that transition? Because that's a big
It is.
change.
It's a huge and crazy change. That actually came, it was so wild. So I met this guy in Safeway in the grocery store on Minnesota Avenue years ago. Well, I guess it was it was about 10 years ago. It was the year I started the Spice Suite randomly. He wasn't trying to holler. Like me and my homegirl Erica were in the grocery store and he just happened to say, like, you look like you could cook. And he started making all these jokes and he's like, can you help me figure out, I want to make something tonight for my girl, but I don't know what I want to make. And so I gave him a quick recipe. And then, Facebook is creepy. So then it's like he popped up as one of those people you might know.
Oh
So I'm like,
gosh.
yeah, I have seen this dude before. So I ended up adding him as a friend because we had mutual friends. the best thing ever, because I started posting maybe a few months later. I started posting that I was going to open a spice shop, and he DM'd me and he's like, "Hey, I met you in the Safeway, and you helped me out." He was like, "I would love to be able to send you some spices from Kuwait. I'm actually a comedian, but I'm in the military." And I'm like, "Oh, that checks out," because he was kind of funny. And he said, "I'm in the military," and he wanted to send spices from Kuwait. I had never been to Kuwait, didn't know anything about Kuwait other than military. And so he sent me a huge box of spices, like kilos and kilos of spices from Kuwait. And before I even opened the box, I smelled it. And I was like, "Yo, this is what I got to do. I got to travel the world and find spices, because I've never smelled anything like this." So it was literally that meeting with this man that I was just genuinely, wasn't
Wow.
trying to do anything with in Safeway, who wanted to return the favor and do something ultra nice for me and send me kilos of spices, that then sparked the idea for me to travel. And so I took my first trip to Puerto Rico because I learned through Google that there was a woman owned spice shop in Puerto Rico, and she had the only spice shop there, and she only had one location. And I was like, "That's going to be me. I only want one location. I'm going to be the only spice shop in DC." And at this time, there were like 6 spice shops in DC. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to get there. And now, fast forward, almost 10 years in business, every other spice shop in DC has shut down. So we are now the only spice shop in DC.
Wow. That's deep. I didn't know they all shut
Did,
down.
like one by one, they slowly started to come to me offering, they wanted me to buy them out. They wanted to collaborate. They wanted me to, do something to kind of help keep them afloat. But at that time, I'm like, I'm still trying to stay afloat. I can't afford to bring
Right,
a business.
absolutely.
And I didn't have a desire, but yep, I learned that they all closed down. So it's just us.
So random, have you are you still in contact with that guy?
I am. Yeah, he comes to my cookout. So he comes to the cookout every year.
Okay, okay, that's love. That's
Whenever
love.
he's in town. He's like a cool guy, right? And we don't stay in touch, like regularly, but because of that connection, like he's always laughing at the
Absolutely.
cookout.
Absolutely. No, that's actually incredible.
Yeah.
So from that kind of becoming like, hey, I'm going to travel. I'm guessing this is before you got a brick and mortar, right? You just kind of doing your thing.
No, this was at the same time. This all just happened randomly. I called the landlord about that vacant space. Um,
Oh, you was not
Oh yeah,
playing,
it was
eh?
wild. Yeah, it was a wild, crazy thing. I literally just saw the space. I called the land. I didn't even know what I wanted to do with the space. I didn't have a desire to open a spice shop. I just was always curious about real estate. At the time, I owned a couple of residential properties that I was renting, and so I never ventured into commercial. And I just wondered what the rent was, because the old spice shop was maybe a few blocks away from where I grew up. So out of sheer curiosity, I called to find out the rent, and he wouldn't tell me the rent until I told him what I wanted to do with the space. And I was just stuck. And I was like, I really don't know. And then I was like, "Oh my God, sir, I'm gonna open a spice shop. Can you just tell me the price?" And then I hung up and I called my best friend and I was like, "Yo, I'm about to open a spice shop." And she's like, "What's a spice shop?" I was like, "I don't know, but let's come up with a name." And so we started going back and forth and we came up with Spice Suite. And then I started sourcing spices wholesale online. And then that's when the guy Boat sent me the spices in the mail. And then from then on, it's just been travel. So I've been to about 42 countries in the past 10 years traveling for
Wow.
spices.
So I guess coming from you getting the first space, what was like the biggest first challenge?
Mhm.
Was it sourcing a product? Was it like the business side of like, I got to pay rent, I got to figure out how to get sales? Like, what was the first big challenge in that early
The
phase?
first big challenge was hiring, right? Because that's like your cost,
Mm,
right? And for most small businesses, especially product retail businesses, hiring payroll is a huge cost. So I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get out of here? Like, I was like, I did not leave being an assistant principal because I left my job. I opened the Spice Suite. I got the keys on August 4th. I opened September 5th. I left my job October 31st, and that was almost 10 years ago. So it didn't take.
you didn't even finish the school year. You was like, the hell with them kids.
And you know what? It was so crazy is my kids kept coming to see me because my teachers learned about what I was doing. They would bring them over for like entrepreneurship classes. So I stayed connected, and I'm still connected
Wow.
to my kids. My high school kids are still my babies. But yeah, it was just wild. It was wild.
That's incredible. It's so interesting to hear you say that, staffing and just having like that support was the hardest thing. Cause I think for sure our team stayed very small for a long time. And at some point it was like we kind of figured out who our type of person was, because it takes some time for you to figure out, like, it's like you hire all these different types of people, and it's like you're hiring them kind of based upon your
Yeah.
resume, but then you kind of realize that it's more important for you to hire your kind of
Yeah.
people rather than trying to hire somebody with a great resume, because a lot of times the vibe don't
It
work.
is.
And so it's actually interesting to hear that, like, that was your very first challenge, because I definitely know exactly what you talk
Oh
about.
yeah, it's like dating. Like, you could just go out there and just give your number to everybody who asks for your phone number and have a whole bunch of people on your roster. Or you
That's a
can like
great one.
really be focused and like be intentional about what you're looking for and be clear and be the person that you want and then attract a really good candidate versus just casting this wide net.
So after you open, tell me about some of your early first goals, though.
My very first goal was to get free, and that's what made me create my business model, right? So I started this thing. I would just post on. I had never done a pop-up shop. I never been to a pop-up shop, but I've been to a pop-up shop, but I never participated in one as like a vendor. But I knew that they were like a thing in DC, and so I put out on Instagram that people can do pop-up shops at the Spice Suite for free. And so when I did that, I didn't know that was a big deal. Like, I thought people were doing pop-ups for free. I didn't know people were actually paying to vend at events until people will reach out. Tons of people were reaching out like, yo, this is free for real? Like, what's the fine print? And I'm like, no fine print. It's free. And so I started doing those. And then I had so many women, we accept men and women, but so many women, ironically, would come forward and they would want to pop up over and over again, to the point where some of them, the first girl, I was like, listen, my son has a hockey game. Do you mind running the store for me while I go to his hockey game? Because you popped up here for the past like 4 weekends. And she was like, I would
Right.
love to. And so then I'm like, wait, I wonder how many other people would want to like do this exchange with me where they get a space to pop up and sell their products regularly. And I don't have to be here and I don't have to pay them, because the thing for them is that they get access to this space. So let me figure this thing out, right? And so I would do these early interviews and I would say, I'm doing this thing where I'm bartering with Black people. And I got a call from the U.S. Department of Labor's legal department, and they were like, "Yeah, so we heard you in an interview say that you were bartering, but we don't see that represented with your relationship with the IRS." And I was like, "Well, that's because I be lying, because clearly, if the IRS has to get involved, I'm taking all of it back. I renege on every single statement.
Straight
I
up. I'm online cap. I am completely
April
cap.
Fools, because what did we?
Right.
So he's like, no, 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 I'm not trying to trip you up. Tell me what you're doing. And so I explained my business model to him. And he said, well, it doesn't fit in any of the 5 legal employment types as defined by the U.S. Department of Labor. So carry on. And I was like, and I was
Wow.
like, wait, so nobody's doing what I'm doing? I need to come up with a name for what I'm doing. I need to trademark it. And so I started to go and speak at different places at Howard Business School and Wharton and places about what I was doing. And I realized that even these business professors had never heard of a model to sustain a brick and mortar location like this. And so I decided to name my business model Black and Forth, which is the idea of going back and forth with Black people to sustain your business. And so that became my business model name. And then fast forward, 3 years ago, it became the name of the strip mall that I purchased and redeveloped.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I guess as a follow-up question, like, can you just tell me how important, the Spice Girls and just the overall community, like, how important are they to you, and honestly, like, to the overall success of your business?
Immensely. I tell people all the time, you cannot expect community to show up for you if you don't show up in it. So I've always shown up in community. Prior to being a Spice Girl, I've been worked in every hood in DC with some of the most difficult young people and families in the city. I've planned more vigils, been to more funerals than most people. And so I think people see me now and they think that a lot of this popularity came from the Spice Suite. And of course, the Spice Suite has amplified it. But so many people
Sure.
know me as just the girl who's always helped, who's always been around, always been, kind of in the trenches doing the work. And now the Spice Suite has allowed that work to become like award winning, you know what I mean, and notoriable. But that wasn't really what I did it for. But I love it, and I'm grateful for this journey now. But the Spice Girls have been a huge part of this entire trajectory. I don't think I would have been able to go as fast as quickly had I not have built the tribe that I've built through the Spice Girl and community.
So, like, in the current situation that you guys are in with the strip
Mhm.
mall, there is six retail
6
spaces.
businesses, yep, 4 shipping containers that I
Okay.
retrofitted, the new tea and coffee shop I opened a month ago, something sweet, and then the Spice Suite.
Love that. Love that. And then, do do those businesses who have the containers, do you charge them just like regular rent, or are they also in the barter
So
system?
they pay regular rent, and what I didn't realize until I have a grant with Mastercard, and so a part of that grant they do a whole lot of data collection for me. Is that we charge about $5 per square foot, whereas average rent in DC is upwards of $50 per square foot. So they're getting a huge
Wow.
discount based on the location, but by being at Black and Forth. So we charge them, and I
And what businesses are what type of businesses are they again?
salons, because I felt like that was Black women, right? When you think about Black women and the businesses that they go into, a lot of Black women work in salons, but not enough Black women have like their own salon space, right?
Own
So
space,
I
yeah.
gave each container its own bathroom, its own entry, so that this feels less like a salon suite and actually like your full salon, so they can get some ownership kind of experience.
I love that. Is that the end of the development, the Angel Development Corp? Like, or is there future opportunities? Like, or are we gonna buy the land behind you? And what are we doing? Like, what's the
I would
thoughts?
if somebody came to me with about a cool 5 million today, I would absolutely buy the adjacent properties. That's I really, really, really I dream about that. I really want the properties next to me. I would love to change that entire neighborhood. I have the
Got you.
vision for it. I just don't have the capital for it right now, but I really do want to do that. But in terms of Black and Forth, there are definitely plans for expansion. I would love to be able to enter construction before the end of this year on another space on the property, and then eventually one of my bigger goals is to get the money to put a rooftop art gallery and event space on top of the Spice Suite, and that'll be free for Black artists to showcase their art, and we just make money off of hosting events.
I love that. I love how you just keep adding more layers to the same space, right? Because so many people want to move on to the next, and it's like you haven't even maximized the revenue opportunity where you are. I love
But I
that.
think
I
that's
love that.
indicative of how people are generally, though, right? Like we're ready to move on to the next thing without maximizing our own potential. Like there's so much more in you, and you're running and going in 50 different directions instead
For
of honing
sure.
in on a talent, honing in on a thing, on a person, and really like making that thing really, really good before you start trying to do 10 of those.
Got you. And then, so tell me, like, obviously, you have the real estate side, but tell me specifically on the spice side, like, what's the ratio of like online sales to in person? Give me some color on kind of like that part of the
It's
business.
probably 80-20, 80% in person, which shocks a lot of people. I
What?
know. Every time I say it, some people are shocked. People expect that most of the revenue comes from online. People really love coming into the Spice Suite. People fly in, people drive in, people take road trips to
Wow.
come in. The last time I was at Something Sweet, the new tea and coffee shop, I walked up the steps and two ladies were sitting on the patio super early in the morning having coffee. And, I just kind of said, good morning, how are you guys? And they were like, oh, we're good. We just got off the road from New York to come down here and have tea. And I'm like, wait, y'all drove down from 4 hours to come sit out here and have a cup of tea? She said, yep. She said, and we're going to wait a couple more hours for the Spice Suite to open. Don't worry about it. And then we're going to get back on the road. Like, and that happens so
Wow.
often. I get people that like, oh, I flew in from Dallas, or I came in from Philly, or I post an event that we're having, and people literally start DMing me their confirmation, like their flight confirmations, to show me, like, I'll be
Wow.
there. I'm coming.
That's incredible. So like do you view, and obviously I don't know the business of spices like as a US market, but like what's the biggest, like who's the Walmart target of spices? Like I'm curious
Yeah,
now.
McCormick is the biggest.
Okay, so McCormick. Okay, so but all right, so we want to talk about them, right? Because they too big. Like, who is like the one step down from McCormick because they just feel like too corporate.
Arguably, I think I would probably be after McCormick if we're talking
What
revenue.
the?
If we're talking revenue, and I mean, even for me to have one location and only be selling in my space, the Smithsonian, the African American History and Culture Museum in Bloomingdale's, I haven't even gone into mass resale yet. I can't imagine that there's another smaller spice shop that does more revenue than I do. And when I think
Wow.
about when I think about, opportunities I've had to talk about this with Bon Appetit magazine and Martha Stewart and people who know food on a bigger scale,
Sure, you would have heard those
and
names.
they've heard my name, right? Like I'm the person that they call when the LA Times is doing food and they're doing their articles on spices. The LA Times calls me in DC. So I'm assuming if somebody was between me and LA, you
Right, right, right,
know what
right.
I mean?
It'd have
I'm
picked
the
up
person
on
they
that.
consult.
That's incredible. Wow. I mean, that's actually mind blowing because I would have just assumed like there was just some random lady somewhere who just got a whole facility and she just like a small batch shop. But that's incredible. So like, as you're thinking about growth and expansion, is the thought to be McCormick at some point, or like that's not where you want to go commercially?
The thought is to be bigger than what I am. I'm not ever really thinking about the competition like in that way. I'm not clocking in numbers or their metrics. But I'm just always wanting to do more of what I'm already doing because I feel like I'm on the right track. I do things in alignment. I do things the right way. I do right by people. I do right by community. And so I really just want the capacity to increase what I'm doing and expand it and whatever that looks like. But for right now, I don't have a plan to be in like supermarkets.
Mm,
I've been approached by other, some of these major retailers before, but it would cause me to
love that.
compromise my pricing and my model in ways that I'm willing to do. And so right now, what I'm doing works for me.
So do you see an opportunity online? Like, do you think you could drive more revenue if you had like a strategy focused online, or you like the hell with that right now? I'm just doing what I'm
No,
doing.
I definitely could do better with a better online marketing strategy. At some point, I'll invest in somebody to strictly help with marketing and increasing sales and things online and grow because I have the operational capacity. I just don't do a really good job of like marketing my online store. I've been handling all of my social media since I've been in business. And so at some point, I think I'll transition some of that, or not even transition it to be completely done with it, but to share some of that responsibility because it is something I'm thinking about once I'm done with construction. I just like, let me stabilize this because it's a lot of money and resources to go into that. And then I'll
Absolutely.
start to work on that. But it's always top of mind for sure.
I love that. I love that. That's actually mind blowing. I think people are going to be very shocked to hear that next to McCormick, which everybody got some McCormick
Yeah,
sea
for
salt,
sure.
seasoning salt, or
Like the
something. And
lorries and like those big
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
that I can't think of anybody. I would love to know though.
So let me ask you this: what is your like top seller? Like, what is your top SKU?
Lemon pepper hot sauce.
I was. It's funny. I was literally about to ask you what it was, and I was going to suggest that. That's great. So like that's your Texas Pete at some point.
Yep.
Like, could you ever see yourself maybe identifying that as being like the one SKU that maybe you put in
Yep,
retail?
for sure. I've been considering that. At this point, I think that I am ready to take the lemon pepper hot sauce to mass production. It has just been it's been so good to me, and so many people love it. People who aren't even hot sauce people, they come in and they try it, and they're like, "This is actually amazing." So
Yeah, it's flavorful more than it's hot.
yep, yep. I always tell people it's a flavor forward hot sauce. Yep, it's not just for
Yeah,
people who want to burn their mouth. It's for people who want to
right.
add some flavor to whatever they're doing with a little heat.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So I know you mentioned on the real estate side, you're trying to be in a good spot before the end of the year. And that would be the expansion for the art gallery.
A retail space first. I want to build a retail space below something sweet, and then eventually I want to do the art gallery.
Got you. Got you. I love that. I love that. So I'm sure a lot of people know you, but there's probably a lot of people who don't know you. Can you speak to some of the celebrities and the who's who have either visited the shop or who have contacted you and you maybe shipped them out a care package? Because I know at one point you had the packages, you had the monthlies, you had the subscription. You don't have, y'all ain't gonna front. You have killed them on like all of like the popular like business models that people wanted to get
Yeah.
into. Like I know a lot of people would try to do subscription. That was a thing for a moment, but like you really did subscription at a level that not a lot of other people could compete with. I'm curious on like who are some of the people who from a celebrity perspective, which I love because you don't even promote celebrity, but I know from being your homie, like there's a lot of people who frequent your shop.
Yeah, we've had Taraji was the first. Taraji Henson was the first celebrity to shop with me. she had sent me a DM years ago, and she's like, "You a DC girl, a Howard girl? Like, I want to support you." And at that point, it was so early on. I was like, just let me know what you want. Like, I'll send you some things. And she said, "You absolutely will not. You're going to invoice me for every single item you send me." And she was like, "Actually, I want you to make. I want one of everything that you think I should have, and I want you to do that 4 times because I'm gonna send them to my friends too." And I Oh my
Mm.
God, I was just so grateful, right? For her to say that so early on, before all the popularity, before all the interviews in the press, she was just like, "I see you and I want to support you." And then from then, Kelly Rowland reached out and wanted some things. And it was so funny because she was doing a non related post. She was like making a drink or something, and she used one of my spices in it. And all these people were in the comments like, "You need to tag my girl. You need to tag the spice." And I'm like, "Y'all, paid for it. She don't have to tag me. Like, this is just her using what And for me, that was super special because it wasn't a paid post. It wasn't a promo. It was literally
Absolutely.
just showing you in your kitchen, and this is what you happen to pull out when you're making something, right? Like, this is just a part of your lifestyle. Kyrie Irving, he had his whole kitchen redone. I think about a year, maybe 2 years ago. He redid his entire kitchen for his wife and requested that everything in the kitchen be spice sweet. So all of his
Mm.
all of
Shout out to Kyrie too,
he wanted
man.
black.
Kyrie is very solid, man. People need to take note to Kyrie, and I appreciate Kyrie and his whole team,
Yep.
his stepmom, his pops. Like they are solid. They are really solid people, and they really stand on supporting black people, and they never do it out front. They always do it
Yep.
behind the scenes without any need for recognition, man. Shout out to
I need to
Kyrie for
meet him
sure.
and thank him for that because that was one of the largest, like from to a single person, like largest invoices we've sent. It was literally one.
Wow.
Like his people reached out and were like, he wants one of everything, and so
Wow, you know what? I'm gonna actually make sure I make that connection. I know how to get in contact with his stepmom who handles all his
I
business. I'm gonna make
thank
that
him for that.
connection for
That was
you.
a huge deal to me. And it was right at the
Yes,
time where I was
yes.
transitioning my brand labels and we were still in construction. So I hadn't even like released he was the first, literally the first person to have those new labels. I
Wow,
hadn't put them on the shelves yet. I was just about to put them out, when we opened, but he asked for that product. And so we got him one of everything.
that's incredible. That's incredible. So just to switch topics a little bit. So one of the things that the podcast is really about is about special moments in your life around like hospitality, nightlife, dinners.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we love to ask our guests is really around like what was a special night for you, right? So for me, I've told this story in the past, but All Star Weekend in Atlanta, like 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, that particular weekend for me, from like when I think back on like special nights, like I saw Jermaine and Janet, they were in the club with the white minks on, drinking champagne, and there was Young Jeezy and BMF, and it was like when you think like Atlanta, like like those special nights in Atlanta, I feel like I got a chance to see one and be a part of one. I'm curious. Give me a story around a night, a dinner, a situation, a party. You know what I mean? Give me something in your history because I know you got some. I know you got some
I'm
special
thinking
ones.
real hard. I think so. One special night that I can recall, I don't even remember the name of this dinner, but I was invited to this dinner at the World Trade Center in DC. And the premise of the dinner
Mm,
was that they would invite all these people that they consider like the who's who across industries. So it could be tech, finance, business, everything. This was maybe like 5 years ago, and they invited us all to dinner. You couldn't bring a plus one. You didn't know anybody else. They tried to make sure that nobody knew anybody else in the room. All
right.
complete
Right.
strangers. It was like this super curated, beautiful menu. And they gave us like questions. And typically don't like things like that where the conversations feel forced and they're giving you these sentence starters and icebreakers. But it was so dope. I met some really dope people like that do really cool things. And I was so honored to be in the room. But it was like by the time we finished introducing ourselves to each other, everybody felt honored to the point where we hung out the next day. Like people and so
Wow.
I think for the next 2 days, that was on a Friday. I believe that Saturday and Sunday, I ended up linking up with some of the people from that dinner and we hung out because everybody was so busy, right? Everybody had cool things going on. So we just started
Sure.
plugging each other into each other's calendars. I got to remember the name of that dinner, but that was one of the coolest experiences I've had outside
I
of
love that.
last year being in LA for the first time during BET Awards was really cool. I had a lot of fun that weekend. A lot of my friends work in entertainment, journalism. So being able to see all the people I know and love doing their thing, and pull up on them was really fun.
That's incredible. I love that. I love that. So last couple questions. Advice. We are in a very interesting time. Obviously, politically, we in DC, so we feel it a lot more than other people from. It's just so funny talking to people who don't live here, how little they feel the effects of what's going on in the government
Yeah.
versus us living here, how much we feel it, and friends, family are affected by all the changes with the administration.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, if you were to give an advice to an entrepreneur who is looking to start or have recently started, what would you say would be some key thing? Just knowing the climate and knowing that's what's going on, you've seen a few seasons, a few political changes.
Yeah.
What would you share with a young entrepreneur?
I think I could always give the same two pieces of advice. First one is start now, perfect later, because there will always be several iterations of your business, right? Like your labels will change, your website will change, your branding can change, but you got to start in order to get to the change that's inevitably on the other side of it. And so often I think we're chasing perfectionism, and perfectionism is an illusion. It'll never happen. You'll never get there. So stop waiting for it. The other thing is to like be careful who you dream out loud around, and not because I are
Mm,
haters though, right? Like it's not. I think when I usually say that, people are like, "Yeah," because people be hating on me, and I'm like, it's not because I think people are haters. I think you should be careful who you dream out loud around because people are scared. Like people are really scared.
they'll put their
Yeah,
fear
they
on you.
project it on you, and you'll finesse yourself out of your dream because you're letting a scary person ask you questions or tell you things that you weren't even fearful of, right? And there's this fine balance
Right.
between people challenging you, which is completely acceptable, and we need that, versus people allowing their fears to become your fears.
I love that. I love that. And then last question. Can you speak to the legacy that you want to leave, right? Like when you think about your business maybe 20 years from now, like what is the legacy that you want to leave as a businesswoman and just the overall business itself? Like where do you see the brand and you going in the future long term?
I just want to be known for looking out for Black people. Like I just want people to feel like this girl was unapologetic. She didn't play about
That's
us.
dope.
Like she did everything she
That's
could
dope.
to put us in position to help and throw as many alley oops as she could. And I did my best. Like I want to genuinely
I
know
love that.
that whenever my time in business ends, that I did my best. And I feel like that about everything, as a mom, as a partner, as a friend, whatever. Like I just want people to feel like I always did my best. Like Angel always gave her best. She always did her best.
That's so great, man. Like that's such a selfless comment.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like to answer that like that as your legacy, that's dope. That's really dope. Like we got to clip that up because that's a real that's like a real statement, right? That your legacy will be based upon helping somebody else, right? At the same time with you being a straight up businesswoman, mogul, killing it, like that being your mission. Like I appreciate that. And what's so great about that is I know you're not capped when you saying that, right? It's not like you saying that as a part of like, yo, that's a podcast little statement. Like that's genuinely how you feel and how you built your business. Like that's incredible. But no, this is great. We keep our podcasts and our conversations to the point because we know folks is
I
busy.
love it.
We know you got a meeting of somebody coming in right behind us, so we don't want to hold you up, but we absolutely appreciate it. I know I'm looking forward to a few weeks from now to the annual birthday party. So we tapped in for
Yeah,
that.
and
We won't give no details because y'all ain't invited. Y'all ain't invited. I ain't telling you nothing. So no.
and class that
Um,
we always collaborate on is you guys graciously lend your time and talent to teach our community business school class. It is our most well attended class every year. People look forward to our collaboration class with Broccoli City Festival. So I love
we
you guys. I
appreciate it.
thank you. I'm so
We appreciate it. We bringing some new folks in there. I've done it
yep.
twice. We got some new energy. We got Tiff. We got Jackie gonna be
I
supporting it
love
this
it.
year. So no, it's great. We honestly appreciate working with you in any phase. Obviously, we worked with you guys this past year on the festival. Angel curated the entire marketplace. This was probably the best marketplace that we've had in history of Broccoli City. So we absolutely appreciate that. And we're excited. We're excited to work with you more in the future. And honestly, I'm excited to figure out ways to do more business and to expand with you on different things. So I appreciate you so much, and genuinely are proud of you. You know, I tell you this all the time because I know how hard it is. And the fact that you ain't got no big equity partners, you ain't got nobody all in your shit, like that's so boss as a Black woman. And you could do it at any time. That's what I love. At any point in time, you could go do a big ass raise and be with one of these big VCs, but you stand on business, you stand on your mission, you stand on your morals. And honestly, like the fact that you built upon really supporting Black people, and specifically, let's be honest, Black women, right? I love that, and I appreciate that as a girl dad with two young Black girls. I appreciate you, Angels. Thank you so much for being on the pod
So
today.
grateful. Thank you always.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Signing out. Text me when you outside. We'll be back with another episode coming up. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in with this episode.